number one, it's not enough with blankets, and it's not enough to keep people alive if there is no security and now durable political solutions. And the problem of the story of Darfur, as I see it, is that we treated it as if it was a natural disaster, whereas it was man-made from A to Z as a war. It was exacerbated by climate change, but of course it was man-made as a disaster. Therefore, we should have been able to wake up not only Washington and London, which had big legitimacy problems vis-à-vis an Islamic radical government. We should have been able to wake up China, India, Pakistan, Malaysia, to take the 4 biggest trading partners of Darfur, as we should have been able to wake up much more the Arab countries that have influence on Sudan. I mean, long story short, there were 2 ceasefire agreements, which I describe in the book, in that start-up period, end 2003 and spring of 2004, and they were not enforced because there was nobody really to try to enforce it. The world woke up for political and security action too late. I believe maybe in this country, in the old days, they said send the Marines. Now it's like send the humanitarians. They will keep them alive, and we can maybe forget about it. Well, we keep them alive until they're massacred. That the whole story of Srebrenica, I was also in the Balkans, as Sashi said, working with Thorvald Stoltenberg. I was in Srebrenica. I could see they got Norwegian food and tents and so on, and then they were massacred. And that, in many ways, is what we're doing to Darfur. We keep them alive, but we don't protect them. Now, another lesson is, of course, also the unpredictability of our generation of great achievements and great potential. So in the tsunami, in the Pakistan earthquake, we're great. On many humanitarian operations, we've been great. In the Lebanon war, I explain how, in the end, after 2 hesitant weeks, the UN clanked into action. There was maximum pressure on Hezbollah and their partners, and the Israeli with their enormous response into Lebanon to say, this is senseless. I coined it the war which only kills children, not soldiers, on either side. It's fundamentally wrong with such a war. And we got ceasefire. We got a withdrawal of forces. We got a UN force on the ground, I think, in 4 weeks. Imagine compared to Darfur. And at least, I mean, there's not a durable, it seems, political solution, but the 1.2 million people who fled in 2 weeks and who could have been refugees today could return 2 months after they 2 months after they fled. So the world worked as it could. It showed its full potential, and there was, the big powers worked together in the Security Council. Now, compare that to the Congo. And I often use the Congo as an example because many do not know, and I try to describe it here. Congo is the biggest loss of human life on our watch. 5 million people have died since 1998, about, according to the excellent American organization, International Rescue Committee, which does these very scientific mortality studies. Now, 5 million people died. I mean, I hope, Johan, if the whole population of Norway, which is close to 5 million, perished, people would notice, I hope. I mean, you would all notice we were all gone. But so why didn't we really notice more what happened in the Congo? Well, I think it's because it's Africa, and it's non-English speaking Africa, perhaps. So there is no predictability. I mean, we're willing to do a lot in northern Iraq, we're willing to do a lot in Kosovo, we're willing to do a lot in Lebanon, we're willing to do a lot in tsunami, and then quite so in places like the Congo or Ivory Coast or Burundi or Guinea-Bissau, Portuguese-speaking Africa, or Somalia today, which is the only place on earth with no functioning government still. You know, imagine a generation with no functioning government, with no school enrollment, and with endless misery. Now, so the unpredictable, in a way, the unpredictability is one of the other lessons learned. I mean, we need to be predictably good for all, and I think we can. It's a question of will, but it's also a question of making us more operational.